December 17, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on a 2000 tick chart using Ninjatrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. It was very, very choppy, very sideways price action. But as you're watching it unfold, you're thinking there's going to be some big swing legs or swings, but then it ends up just kind of creating this big range overall. This is how I drew the charts today. It's not the cleanest. There wasn't that very many setups. It was kind of a boring day similar to yesterday. Now, if you look at the ES, here's the ES contracts. So what's happening is the Z24, those are expiring on Friday, but you could still see there's quite a lot of volume. And then this is the H25, which is the new contracts. And they're the next ones that you should be trading. They're a lot more volume. Ideally, all the volume should be on one or the other contract. But since it's still split, you're getting a lot of noisy, I guess, choppy price action that doesn't really set up very many trades. I took a total of one trade today, and even in itself, it wasn't the best setup. It was more of a hunch from what I was seeing. So I called it essentially a second entry long, but when I get to it, I'll explain. It isn't even the best second entry long, but it was a hunch from what I was seeing, and I took it. It was riskier, and it was profitable. But after that, I knew, like, hey, I need to be extra careful. Then I sat through this entire thing, eventually found this setup here, but it was kind of like a possible trade. It was aggressive. And from here, looking back, I just wasn't really feeling it. So I ended up not really taking any more trades after that. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the chart right now. There's only one piece of economic data that came out at 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here. As you can see, it didn't really do anything. It was a core retail sales, and it didn't really shock the market. Tomorrow will be a big market moving event, which will be the FOMC rate decision. Now, a lot of people are thinking it's going to either be cut by another quarter point or it'll stay the same. But even then, there's going to be a lot of volatility because I think tomorrow there's going to be other news that comes out. So if I look at Forex Factory, actually, it's just going to be pretty much the rate decision, and then the press conference with Jerome Powell at 11 o'clock is when the rate decision comes out. 11:30 Pacific Standard is when he comes out and adds color. It's always kind of choppy, and up until then, usually from the open till 11:30 Pacific Standard, it's going to be very slow. So I have to be even more careful because I feel like the last few days has been really slow, coming up on the end of the year, especially this week where it's going to be option rollover. And it's just kind of a dead time happening this week. So, and then next week with the Christmas holidays, I think it's just going to be even more slow. I might even just kind of take the whole week off. It might not be worth taking a trade and creating frustration because if I take a win, I don't know how long it's going to take to get that win, how long I'd have to watch. And I think since Christmas is happening, I think it's on like a Wednesday. It's going to be a half day trading on Tuesday, no trading on Christmas, and then, pretty much Thursday, Friday, I don't even know if it's worth trading. Then the replication the same thing repeats itself the next week with New Year's. So I don't know if it's really worth sitting for hours looking for a trade. And then if I get it, that's great, but I don't know if it's worth the time. But then if I lose, I'm going to feel really bad because it's going to be like a loss during the holiday season. Anyways, I'm going to get into the trades right now of today. It was a downward choppy sideways action, nothing really happening. It opens on a continuation sell-off. There was a new high, first entry long, second entry long, no setup here. Technically a third entry long, but I also saw it as just like a first entry long on a bigger visual. But then it hits the sideways action on this, pretty much this red channel. If I can click it, well, you can see a smaller red channel here. It's a very, very tight trading range. Breaks out, chops around. I think it's a bigger trading range, and it finally breaks out here. So this actually sets up for my first and only trade. So I'm expecting a rejection up here because it already tried 6 times, and this is pretty much creating a 7th time, but it breaks out really strongly, pushes up, creates a first entry short from new low, first entry short, pull back. So technically, I also saw this as a new high, first entry long, pull back below, and push up. Now, I have since reloaded the data, but this actually created a better signal bar than it does here. So it actually makes it look like it's a double top, but it actually broke and it made a better signal bar, and I actually entered at the highs of this. Entered, I knew that it was potentially hitting the highs here, but it looked like kind of a bottoming pattern of this larger trading range of the pre-market highs and the pre-market lows, which I drew here. But it looked like it was kind of reversing back up into the range. So I called it a fail breakout pullback. Now this is an aggressive trade. It's not the cleanest, especially since the candles have been reprinted. If I saw this in real time, I don't think I would have taken this trade. But I think this candle was actually without the stem, so it looked a little cleaner. But it's since been expired, so you don't really know what it looks like at this point. And it just looks like I took a random haphazard trade. And it could still be a random haphazard trade, but at the time, I saw it as a failed breakout pullback, bounce, potential enough for a quick scalp. So that's what I did. I took a quick scalp, but I wasn't going to go for a runner. I just didn't trust the market today. It starts chopping sideways. It starts moving up on this green up channel, but this green up channel isn't very reliable either because it's very, very shallow. It's a top, it comes back down, sells off in this orange down channel, creates a first entry long pullback. It creates a second entry long here. I didn't quite mark it. Well, I marked it, but I didn't think it was a good trade because it's a break of this orange down channel, test, break, and test of the low. So down channel has potentially played out. I might be hitting the bottom of this trading range zone, the support zone. It's hard to really say there's a clean line. It's hard to really know if it's here, or maybe even lower down where this red dot is. So I just said, okay, it looks like a second entry long here. I'm not feeling it. I'm just going to leave it alone. Pushes up. It would have been enough for a scalp. If you hung out for more than a scalp, then you would have gotten stopped out here. So it pushes down. It kind of chops around. Really pretty much side-by-side candles. It's a new low. First entry short. Creates a new low. Technically, you have a second entry short, but you don't really have a second entry short after making a new low. So new low, first entry short. It creates a new low again. So it's actually a first entry short. Creates a second entry short here, but I didn't mark it either because this is just side by side. You have two dojis in a row, not in a row, two doji candles in quick succession. Inside this trading range, I already hit the low, already tested the low. To go low here, it feels very dicey. So the follow-up candle, this trigger bar, doesn't really give you much confidence, but let's say you did take a short right here. Here, maybe you would have gotten your 1 point scalp. Depending on how much you're going for, you'd still be sitting through this noise. Nothing clean. There's a new low here. First entry short, second entry short, doji. So your second attempt, if you didn't take this trade, would have been maybe to take it here, except this is a bad signal bar, no trade. And if you try to go for more than just that 1 point, if you really did take the short here, you probably would have gotten stopped out here. So when I see this in real time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm really doubtful. I had not doubtful, but I have to be extra cautious because this trade itself was already risky. I'm going to be extra cautious on and extra picky on my setups, knowing, option expiration, slow day, volume split between two contracts. So extra, just more cautious now. Prices move up, two dojis in a row. I just don't like that. Hits this trading range, nothing clean, moves up on this green up channel. Only have a first entry long. As it moves up, it breaks out of this green up channel, has this large overshoot. So I was debating whether the range is actually maybe something like this. Maybe it's a two-tier channel, and now it's in the second tier. Nothing really clean, first entry long. I'm hoping for a second entry long here, potentially, but you don't get it. You get a second entry long below the EMA now, so the trade looks like it's played out. This orange down channel is broken and tested the low, so potentially it could be moving back into the green, but it didn't escape me from thinking that potentially this is an overshoot and there's another overshoot here, but these overshoots are quite large with respect to the size of the channel. So to flat out, think that's going to move back into this range feels like a stretch, and it was just confusing for me. It creates this second entry short failure. So it's a new low, say first entry short, pull back, second entry short failure. I thought this was a possible trade. It's a little more aggressive though, because I'd be playing the idea that this orange down channel is broke, tested the low, made two attempts down, so reversing back up into this green up channel. This one's engulfing, broke above the EMA, but I'm starting to not really trust the EMA all that much because it's above, below, maybe there's some respect given here, above, maybe some respect given here, but now it's not respecting it. So I marked it as a possible entry. It's engulfing. It's a good signal bar. It's engulfed this bad doji, And it looked like it might push back up at least for a 1 point scalp, but I just didn't really like it. It looked like it would have worked. Who knew that this big candle would have showed up? Prices move up. It creates this resistance region. So now I'm still watching and waiting. It creates this new high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. I'm not thinking it's a failure. This is marked after the fact. It's a new low, first entry short. Now it creates a second entry short. So this is an almost trade because back here, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I'm not sure if the EMA is going to hold because it's just cutting right through the candles. It is a first entry long. It's a bad signal bar for a first entry long. So I'm not even thinking failure here yet. It is a potential new low, first entry short, potential second entry short. Depends on what happens in the next candle. So this confirms the second entry short and failure of the second entry long. However, back in time, you have no idea that that's going to happen. So it's not, maybe not even considered an almost trade, but I marked it because you don't know which way it's really going to go. Then after the fact, you get a confirmation. So it'd be disingenuous for me to think, oh, well, there's a possible trade there, or even an almost trade. This is just random. I had no idea this is going to happen. Kind of adds to the fact that I wasn't really sure what was going on today because it's just very slow moving, nothing cleanly setting up. Prices move down, moves down on this green down channel, breaks, but breaks horizontally into this trading range. Nothing clean here. It's a new high, maybe first entry long, second entry long. I don't like the signal bar. It's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Below the EMA, I don't want to go long into that. Break, potentially a failed breakout here. First entry short, and then maybe get a second entry short here, but what are you trading into? You're trading into a sideways price action with no real setup. Maybe there's this orange up channel going up, but here I'm not thinking short. Here I see it, second entry short potential, but I'm not thinking short either because I could be bouncing off this orange up channel and it finally breaks through. Again, I'm not thinking short and I'm not thinking long either because it could bounce off the EMA, but the EMA, as I said, isn't very reliable today. You do have a new high, first entry long, second entry long failure. And this is a lower high, but it made like a triple test. So you could consider maybe this is a trade. It's a possible trade because it's a break of the orange up channel. First attempt up, second attempt up, failure, push below the EMA, which I already mentioned isn't reliable today. Strong signal bar engulfing this bar and this bar and this bar. So this guy engulfed the 4 previous bars. But I see it. I'm not 100% sure. The possible trade, if you're more aggressive, you could consider it maybe a triple test right here. It's a really tiny triple test. And there is enough room for a scalp. So it's a possible trade, but as I said, I wasn't feeling it. So we probably would have gotten the scalp somewhere here. Prices move down, bounce, moves up. It's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, bad signal bar to go short on. I think there's some kind of bigger, so I was playing with a lot of channels previously, trying to make things fit. Something like this, and they've since been deleted, and it ends up being this larger yellow down channel because it looks like it's 1, 2, 3 touches. Now here's the 4th touch, and this is the bottom of the channel. So if it ever bounces here, I wouldn't really take a long just because it only has 2 confirmations. I feel more comfortable taking a short because there's 1, 2, 3, arguably 4 touches. You also have a new high here as a first entry long pullback, creates a second entry long failure. The second entry long failure, I mean, it looks nice, except you have 2 dojis in a row. The context is kind of there, but it isn't a clean setup because if you were to take this trade, you clearly see there's some kind of support region right here at 61.27. Your entry is probably at 61.28, or my entry. There's not that much room. It's a 1 point or 1 point scalp. Then you have to worry about potentially I'm selling right into the range because this range itself is only about 3.5 points. So I marked it as an almost trade, not quite there. Perhaps if this stem wasn't here, it was just a nice bearish bar, and this is a little bit smaller, and you had too much, not these 2 dojis here. But as you can see, I'm keep adding all these things I needed it to be. And if the setup already has, looks kind of weak, and I'm adding like, well, it needs to be this, needs to be that, needs to be there, it's clearly not a possible trade. Prices move down, pushes down on this green down channel, far from the EMA. I'm just watching and waiting. Break of this green down channel, break, test of the low, and now it starts to reverse. But then it hits the EMA and reverses strongly. No real setup, no clean second entries. There's a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. Second entry long, I saw this and I was thinking, wow, that's a really strong push down, strong close at the bottom. Is there a possible short? But I couldn't justify it. because there's a new high. First entry long, second entry long. Second entry long technically has not failed yet. And all it is a rejection off the EMA, creating a double top. It's an inside bar, so nothing really here. Turns out it would have worked, but I don't know that at the time, so I'm okay with that. Prices move down. It's a new low, first entry short, pushes up. It creates a second entry short. At first, I think is going up this green up channel. It moves pretty nicely up this green up channel, breaks. I'm looking for a bounce off the EMA potentially, but then it doesn't. It kind of bounces off somewhere in the air. So that's where I drew this purple up channel. One touch, two touch, and the top side fits pretty well. So I'm thinking this green up channel, depending if it reverses, but it tests the high and it kept going. So now I'm trusting more likely that it's this purple up channel. But if you look at the time of day, it's already too late. And it kind of goes into the close. So it was kind of a, similar to yesterday, a very, I guess, weird, choppy, boring day because the volume is split between two contracts. Nothing I could really find gave me a lot of confidence. Even the trade that I took, I wasn't that happy with. And I was just, to be honest, probably lucky on it being profitable. But I did see it in real time, and I was thinking more of a hunch trade because it is second entry long. The candle has since changed after I reloaded the data. So it's hard to really, justify this trade after the fact. But in the real time, it looked better than it is now because the candle has changed. And there wasn't really that many setups in general that I felt super safe on. So hopefully that was helpful. I think tomorrow, it's going to be so volatile, it might be another day of me sitting around watching and doing nothing. In which case, I might consider just not taking the risk and not trading tomorrow. So